Are you suffering enough for your art? And is your art holding you back? Hi there, I'm Greg. Welcome back to the Questing Chiropractor. And today we have Mark and Nimrod in another deep conversation around the innate model. And previously they've gone through quadrants 1 and 2, and today they delve into quadrants 3 and 4. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. While I strongly urge you to go back and listen to some of these episodes with Mark and Nimrod in these explorations, this episode stands on its own. We talk about how hard work gets you so far, but then actually starts holding you back, and how it's necessary to get to a point. But after that point, the idea of working harder will hold you back. And this is a podcast where they go deep into understanding some of the brain's role of how we run through life, the artisan's approach, the practicality of chiropractic philosophy in life is really, really strong that comes through here. The drive for excellence, the quest for excellence, and how important that is for chiropractors, but also the practical realities of that and how they can stand in our way. We go through suffering, they go through joy, and they also then delve into this quadrant fourness, which is really about how we take things up, how we create leverage, how we scale and take ourselves onto another level, which is something that doesn't happen very well in chiropractic. They finish off with legacy and contribution, and the concept of designing your destiny comes through at the end. I really like that. Make sure you listen to hear that part. As you listen, please think of a friend or a colleague who would benefit from listening to this. Please forward it to them and consider giving us up to a 5-star rating and listen on. Welcome to the Questing Chiropractor podcast. We help you grow as visionary, vital, and capable chiropractors who are always on. We do things differently as we help to elegantly awaken your innate wisdom within. We help you create robust, predictable, and trustworthy practices that serve oceans of people and yet still have free time for yourselves and your families. We use neuroscience to deliver better business results so that you can get greater, deeper, and more effective impact in more ways. We are Questing Chiropractors, and this is our story.
Well, Artisan, thank you for being back here on this next one in our series of talking about people's quest, people's journey through their life. And we had a good go at talking about the big concept of what may be drawing them into life and attracting them all the way down to understanding how that looks. And we kind of touched last time on how that flows into day-to-day life. So maybe do you want to pick us up there and go from the cerebral into the gut reality and practicality of this journey that we're on?
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Nimrod. Well, yeah, as we discussed there, we've got the rearward looking, the backward looking part of our brain, which is the left brain, into our history, and it brings up all the reasons why we can't do something. It could be dangerous. It could jeopardize our survival. So, and it's a really useful part. It's a very important part to have, and it's given us great comfort. And in fact, we call that area nurture. It allows for us to feel nurtured, to be nurtured, and to nurture others by having rules and structure. And then we push that conditional acceptance of the quadrant one's hairy idea across into the quadrant 3 part for action. And so the quadrant 2 is the filter that allows for us to proceed with something and maybe with some conditions. So that then goes through into the quadrant 3 part, which is the artisan. The quadrant 3 part is the hindbrain on the right side, which is future oriented. So it's taking an idea and it's looking at how can it do something with this idea. So it firstly requires the organization and the control and the operational base and the strategy that comes from the quadrant 2 part, and that flows through into the 3 in first instance, and actually creating a design. So 3 is really great at saying, okay, this is functional, this will work, this in our experience has great outcomes, and it will move towards things. So it'll take the big concept and start to break it down to its smallest components, so that then the individual design and that tactics can be established. And as we do that within our practice, we can take the philosophical constructs, we can then put them through a procedural process, which is the what. What are we doing here? The why is the philosophy for doing it. Uh, the what is the how. How things are going to be done, but it's got to be using the current materials available. So that looks at the resources, and then the actual application, or the how, is the three part then takes it and says, okay, I want to design this. I'll put it into a structure where it will enroll the people that are good at this stuff. And that will be then a series of tactics that get rolled out based on the underlying design, which is a part of the strategy. So from there, then we can start to apply our skills as chiropractors, for example, so that we get good at doing certain things. And the tactical part of that is, if this, then that. And so that's an endless uh, array of instances that may come up in practice, and that's why they call it practice. It's never perfect. It's always in process. And so, and this artisan part of our brain loves to do that. It loves to get involved and roll the sleeves up and get something done, get it made. And so this part is, it's like the story of the stonemason being interviewed, and what are you doing? And it could be, well, I'm just chipping stone to make it fit in certain ways, but no, the artistic part of that stonemason is to build a cathedral, and then it's one that they never see. It's like many of the ancient buildings have been manifest a long time after the artisans were on the job. So having this opportunity then to forge something for the future that one might not see is the essence of the and I'm going to switch it straight across to chiropractor's life. We're going to be influencing babies and children by virtue of our chiropractic premises and obviously our adjustments, but also the words that we craft and we communicate with people, so that then they become their potential selves. They grow into this fully optimized position for them, and manifest all sorts of amazing stuff into the future long after we've gone. So that's looking forward there, but it starts in the quadrant 3, and the quadrant 3 part then is saying, okay, how can I do excellence in everything I do? And it's constantly upgrading oneself. So it's an endless search for excellence. It's never, the artist the artist is never satisfied with its production. It's always something better. It's like, I wrote a book recently, that The Attractive Practice, and I just couldn't look at that book for probably 4 or 5 months. And no, only just walking to it now, I read it and think, oh, gee, actually, this is quite good. But, I knew so many things I didn't put into it that I could have, and the book is now printed, and it's like, shit, I wish I could undo that, but that's the artist. I think it's always being, dissatisfied, and yet at another level, feel quite satisfied in the fact that there's an accomplishment there. So the quantum 3 part likes to have the results based on these notions and see the physical manifestation of it. So it takes great pride in it, and will labor long and hard in order for that to occur.
Yeah. And so when we do labor on that, we leave something behind, and that may be something physical, like a book, it could be, a new life, like a child. And obviously it could be also the impact that we have on the people that we interact with through chiropractic, and the lives we change in that way. So there is this continuity that goes beyond, as you said, the stonemason creating the 1 or 2 or 1,000 pieces that become a cathedral.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's that's the productive part of us as chiros, and that's the hands-on part that connects with our gut. So we're very in tune with our gut and brain in this context, and we resonate with people. We connect with people in a similar way to that with them as well. So, the somatic connection is kinesthetic connection is very strong, whereas on the quadrant two part is more cerebral,
Yeah.
and the one part's more heart based. So it's the heart brain that comes in play there. So here's where our gut brain gets to really run, and we do our techniques and uh, uh, our connections as CAs and our communication in a heartfelt way. So it's very and it's filtered down through the gut, so that the connection is very, very strong. With
Yeah. Yeah. And, we feel that, don't we? When we're in presence of someone else and really attuned with them, then, innate to innate, our whole being resonates with who they are and kind of seem to know what to do at the right moment to leave that impact that could be small thing we do that is a pebble in a big pond.
Absolutely, and it's interesting actually to make the distinction between the higher mind and the lower mind in terms of we're talking lower mind here, which is quite physically grounded and physically based,
Brilliant.
and if you like, it's the innate within the person.
Mm.
Yeah, the higher mind, the source, the universal intelligence, if you like, flows from above and down,
Mm.
and animates this
Yeah.
stirs this substance into action. So I think it's a coalescence of the two, and this is why you know in not understanding more about this innate model thing, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it flows in from the quadrant one part, it comes down into the lower mind to organize it and keep it structured and make it procreate
Mm.
and recreate and have something productive there at a physical level, and then it feeds back up into the higher mind again. So and that's the next stage. So I think the important part about this particular quadrant is it's about engagement, and it is about having um, connection with and relationship with oneself firstly. To it's to give an adjustment or to answer the phone for a CA, for example, or to address a gathering. To convey some communication around chiropractic. There's an engagement that has to take place within oneself first. Uh, get clear on the purpose of this, and then understand the content that we want to deliver, and then deliver it in a style which is compelling, which is captivating, which allows people to see more than they've seen previously or before. And that's the job of this quadrant three part, is to be the spokesperson for this particular concept or idea. So in our case, chiropractic. So I think the flow there when it comes into the three part is challenged, because the quadrant three part is very collaborative, and it doesn't like to tends to be fairly sort of humble, not not seeking um, accolades. It's rather introverted, that part, and so there is a tendency as chiropractors for us to be very happy in our own little pack and be in our own little practice, and not necessarily stretch ourselves too much outside of our practice or outside of our community. So I think when we recognise that, okay, there's my quadrant three at play,
Yep.
it makes me a great practitioner. At the same time, there's a sense of humbleness and sense of not being enough, maybe not being good enough, and there is that tendency for courage to hold back at that level. So um, and yet the wisdom when they do allow themselves to step onto the stage or step in front of a video, step into a robust conversation with someone who maybe is detracting, but to get into those conversations, the quadrant three part shines because it has so much empathy and caring, and it comes through in a very genuine way. So I think that it's something that's lovely to observe, and we've seen that many times in our associates and ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think, there's such an interesting tension there between not wanting the ego to be overinflated, and yet the care of quadrant three is what draws them to make a greater impact in every person, every interaction, and in everything that they're doing. And so that care can be the driver that really is drawing the quadrant three forwards and is enlivening the quadrant three. And it's where we feel entrusted to take responsibility for this life that we have and how we're creating change in everything around us.
Yeah, yeah. It's the old saying that some people don't really hear about the information you've got and what you're saying until they know how much you care.
Yeah,
And we see this time and time again with our questing clients around the world. It's like, people who have all this information, they just dump it on their practice members, and wonder why the practice members keep walking.
yeah,
And then the others that have very little information, they're sort of quite scarce when it comes to the data.
yeah,
They have a huge amount of caring that permeates the person they're with, and those people want more of it. They hang around, and they're there for a lifetime and generations. Okay, so
yeah.
yes, yeah, it's important to recognize this quantum three part as a real gift to our physical expression as professionals.
Yeah. And so, Mike, if we just, dive a little bit deeper into this quadrant, and, often chiropractors don't necessarily need to express this even deeper because they will have quite a strong preference here. But it's good to highlight some things. So if we blow out and have a look at this journey, this quest a human being is on, and we talked about the dissension from, universal intelligence down into the mud and clay and dirt of being human. And then the ascension back up through as innate intelligence draws us back into the caring arms and compassion and complexity that it draws into universal intelligence. So we've got the descension and ascension. In quadrant three, we're talking about the reality of daily lives and how to make that a practicality. So what are some things that chiropractors, as a human being, as a chiropractor, as a leader in their practice, and as someone who changes lives, what are the realities and practicalities of this journey and quest of ascension, of descension and ascension?
So there's I think we probably all recognize the newborn baby has a very compelling presence,
Mm.
uh, and grumpy old men and criminals and whoever you want to see as being quite hard and will soften in the presence of a newborn baby.
Mm.
And I think there's an essence to that's worthy of note that we come in, I won't say with a blank slate because obviously we've got our genetic download and we've already had a whole bunch of experiences when we come into it
Mm.
this life in this form. However, um, the innocence of that is light. It's joyful. It's real. It's raw, and we then devolve into or descend and devolve because we're getting more physical. So less, and that's what we call, I think, human being because there's the human, which is the humus, which is named after the dirt of the earth, soil, and then there's the being, which is the breath of life that goes into that. So it's been described in many ways through scriptures and even in science. So we've got this slowing of the vibration, that gives us a physical form. So that's then going into the hindbrain as quadrant 2 and 3, and we eke out an existence on this planet in this form.
Yeah.
And some get better than others, but there's essentially we play a little game of being human and hopefully being human beings. So that becomes, problematic sometimes, but we, we don't get out of it alive. And we then, possibly assume another form because, you can't destroy energy. So,
Mm.
science is very clear on that. And so is uh, the many religions. So I think, theology is something that's intricately woven within this thing, but
Mm.
quantum physics is certainly on the wall as far as it goes too. So I think, once we take that on board, it's like, okay, how can we lighten our load? And it's not necessarily by taking physical things off, because you can't change physical with physical. And, the big changes happen with the non-physical interacts and all of a sudden physical changes because structure affects function. And the structure of a thought, the structure of a situation affects the function of the situation. And I think it's probably fair to say that we are a product primarily of our environment, and that that nurture has a far greater impact on us than nature. And
Mm.
that's as we name the quadrant 2 part the nurture. Because, they say, the product of the 5 people you hang around with. Well, I think you're probably, we can make choice in that so that we have those people around us who inspire us and take us, just by example, takes into different ways of thinking and high levels of function. So that's the sort of the pea soup that we're dwelling in at this low level. People obviously get suffocated because sports traumas and toxins mount up, and the essence of life has difficulty expressing in
Mm.
those as the best it can. It will always express, but expresses in aberrant ways. So, find suffocation is obviously um, a great gift to us. It's not um, it's not that something failed as far as innate goes, but conversation is an expression of innate,
Yep.
and gives us an opportunity then to um, maybe become more aware of ourselves and more aware through chiropractic, particularly of uh, the possibilities of what is and what can be, and uh, we can, rather than living in the past, we can start to create a present that is
Mm.
worthy of stepping into the future.
Yeah.
So that's what the 3 does. I guess it's just
Yeah.
hit that ascension.
And just about, catching that moment between the past, which is quadrant 2, and the big future, which may be quadrant 1, or even, the change of evolution we want to do, which we'll come to next, quadrant 4. How do we be more present in the present in the quadrant 3-ness, so that this journey and quest we're on is even more fulfilling, more meaningful, more bliss?
It's I don't know. I play around with this a lot in terms of my journey so far, um, and I think probably um, suffering and work.
Mm.
That, and working hard, working as an artisan does. We're all artists. We're
Mm.
all is in this context,
Mm.
and the more we work, the more inspired we are. You
Hmm.
know, talk about burnout. That's bullshit as far as I'm concerned, because it's the opposite of that. That often to overworking.
Yep.
It's for lack of joy. So if we can tie in the joy of doing what we do as a human being,
Mm.
and be it pushing weights at the gym, or even getting out of bed in the morning. I mean, there's a hardness, there's a suffering associated with that. I mean, there's nothing worse than getting out of bed on a really cold, frosty morning and going for a run or something. So or even just getting up to have breakfast. So it's sort of there's a a weird sort of thing with that low level of life that we
Yeah.
engage in
Yeah.
um, every day, which reminds me of a a quote that was actually spoke about today in terms of um, you know carrying water and chopping wood. That's the Zen state. It's not about sitting on a beach or pina colada. Uh, and sure, that's a nice thing to do from time to time. But the real joy in life is actually the stage of creation, be it as a mum with a newborn baby, with a, a bloke with a bunch of kids as a coach for their soccer team or whatever. And it's like everything we do as chiros um, can be a state of bliss. It can be a state of joy, and
Yeah.
yet there's a certain suffering with that too. You
Yeah.
know, we're seeing large numbers, or when you're not, there's a suffering there too. So the question: how are you taking on board and using that, uh, and how does that grow you?
Mm,
And that's, if we can see that, well, I guess Richard Gold said this way that, life should be like a candle, should burn brightly from the beginning to the end and sputter once or twice and go out. And well, it's like, I think it's always better to wear out than rust out.
yep.
And we can have that opportunity in this quadrant 3 part.
Mm,
Uh, where we go through the rust stuff. We knock ourselves around. We cut our fingers and chip out,
yep.
some our time. In many ways. So that then is sort of a life well lived.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, all of these anecdotes, metaphors that you've just thrown in there, they all have some suffering, right? Whether it is seeing a lot of people or not seeing many people, whether it's carrying water, chopping wood, whatever it is, there's a suffering there. And that brings our intent focus into this present moment and what the possibilities are that this could be creating into the future. Uh,
Correct.
you've also brought in some self-reflection questions there. How is this serving me? How is this serving others? How is this useful? What is the meaning of this? And that really brings us beautifully onto quadrant 4, right?
Mhm.
How we make sense of this and can improve what we're doing as part of where we are in life as we go back around into the loop. So carry us through to that quadrant 4 that is all about expanding impact in those things and people around us,
Mm.
our environment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one because, we definitely, the end product of the 3 is to create that impact. Um, Then the quadrant 4 looks at it. The quadrant 4 part of our brain, the left frontal cortex is saying, "Oh, you can do better than that. What about doing this and this and this? And then if you did that, then this would be amazing."
Mm,
And so, in fact, just do it. And the quadrant 3 part that's labored, maybe, think of the stonemason, labored over these pieces of stone fitting on the foundations of a building, and as they did, they put their own initials on the bits of stone and so forth. And then the Lord or the king or the clergy or whoever it is that's governing that project comes along and says, "No, we've got to move that 2 meters this way,"
mhm,
uh, and take it down and recast it. I mean, it's coming from a bigger picture vision,
mm,
but at the time it's horribly upsetting for the quadrant 3 part.
yeah.
And and it's like that part where it's report about the book, it's finished, but oh gosh, so much more could have gone into it. So much, this could have been said better, this could be said differently. So that's quadrant 4 part yelling at myself in this instance, relative to that. So I think, having an awareness of that we are, I think, hardwired
Mm,
for, and that's, I'd use that advisedly because I don't think probably hardwired for everything, but we certainly are, have a propensity to grow and to develop and to embrace change.
yep.
So change is then, the, uh, the area of quadrant 4, I mean, it just loves change because, first thing it's going to do is say, well, who else can do it? Because quadrant 4 part doesn't necessarily want to do it, just wants to come up with the ideas. And then send someone off to do it. So, who's going to do this? And that's where, whilst in the quadrant 3 part, it's like, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, me too, yeah, I'll do it too. And the quadrant 4 part, it's like, okay, so who can do this? Who's best to do this particular job? And it's that person who's using the quadrant at that level, will surround themselves with people who are far more qualified than they are.
Yep.
So, they don't have a problem with that. They don't mind if they've got a whole bunch of superstars around them. Whereas there'll be a, a jealousy with that in quadrant 1, if you reflect back into that, the totem pole, the guru. Whereas quadrant 4 part is saying, no, let's just leverage what we've got here.
Yeah.
And leverage it by redesigning. We can leverage it by redeploying. We can leverage it by getting others inspired and involved and bringing their talents to it. So
Mm.
that's the nature of this quadrant 4 part, because then it says, okay, how can we best govern it? And
Yep.
how can we oversee it? So I'll bring around my little posse of people who or creations who are really good at that, and they will give us guidance.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly have a board of directors that I consult, and so people like who are not even on the planet, people like Reggie Gold, what would you say here, Reggie? Jim Parker, and I mean, there's just think of it, or maybe it was your sixth grade school teacher. It doesn't matter. It's someone who's been impressionable on your life, having them as a reference point. And this is the type of stuff the quadrant 4 gets up to, because the quadrant 4 part is it's almost like a direct link to the infinite. There's this action there that goes out from the quadrant 4 part, because it's willing to take action and trust action. And is willing to take whatever comes, calamity, disaster, or great fame and fortune. One four part doesn't really care. It's just like, let's get it done. Let's get this. Now we're going to, rearrange the thing that this quadrant 3 has been laboring over for years. We're going to make it in a different format. We're going to, have it run in a different way. And you come on board and help us get this done. And the quadrant 4 part obviously likes to take the credit too. And there's some downsides to the quadrant 4 part, but that's a situation where then essentially the job of that quadrant 4 part is to empower people.
Yeah.
And to have lots of people around them who do an amazing job of what they do, which then moves them forward as an individual. If we're looking at a practice, it moves them to practice. And so many practices get held back because the chiropractor has to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And
Bottleneck, isn't it? And so in terms of, again, that journey, that quest of the individual life and that descent and an ascension, what is the quadrant 4 bringing? What are they giving to this journey?
well, the quadrant 4 doesn't get bogged down in the mud. The quadrant 4 is that part of us that has a connection with the infinite. We call it intuition. I'll give you an example. Last Saturday night, I was at a conference, a chiropractic conference in Australia, and this was the Saturday night ball, so I guess a bit rowdy, and but loose. Anyway, I was talking to a new grad, or about to graduate chiropractor, and she was saying that she'd like to. When I asked her what her plans are, she'd like to go to Europe and work in Europe for a few years, to Europe and get some experience. And she was thinking maybe the Netherlands could be a good place to go. And so I mentioned a few people, and she asked me a bit about that background. And I mentioned one particular person who would be a good fit for her, because this girl really likes, or her mum practices NSA, network chiropractic, and she's sort of wanting to follow on those lines. So I mentioned this this person who I haven't seen for a couple of years, I haven't had any contact with her at all. And I might just pull up my WhatsApp or while we're doing this, because this little conversation was quite fascinating. So there we are talking away, and I said, yeah, give us your phone number, and I'll flick you the details of this person. Anyway, about 3 minutes later, um, I got a WhatsApp message from this particular person who said, "I love you. Feeling lots of mark vibes lately, so wanted to send some."
Oh, amazing.
Right. So, I just go straight back and say, "You got to be out of your effing mind. This is incredible. We're just talking to this new grad here in the late summit and da,
Yeah.
da, da, da," But yeah, so I mean, she comes back with, "Oh, how about that?" And my witchy vibes are at an all-time high these days. So, but that's the energy of connection that the Poem 4 plays at.
Yeah.
And we all have it, we all do it. And sometimes you accept it, sometimes there's this cold hard evidence.
Yeah.
And other times we reject it and want to play small, insular, and our little physical cocoon. So so then we invented phones. Uh,
Yeah. So there seems to be a part of Quadrant 4 that in our journey, when we are authentic, aligned, and coherent, then we become back to being as one with the universe and the journey that it is drawing us on.
Yeah.
It's a first forwards.
Totally agree. And so from that then comes the what we leave behind.
Mm.
We maybe don't give too much credit to that or consideration for that in our early years. And then as the time goes by, we become more aware of it. And I think, for any of us, we look back at our past and some of the so-called just random things that have happened, um, we can say, well, it's just some coincidence, or it was like divinely inspired, and
Mm.
that's up to each of us to look at it in retrospect. But if we do accept it in retrospect, that there is even coincidences, that we can embrace them going forward as well, be they good or bad, because they're leading us a certain path.
Mm.
And that then takes out blame, uh, and it takes out a need to be right about something. Something can happen. It just happens.
Mm.
So that then becomes um, um, the quadrant 4 part, which is accepting of what is.
Yeah.
And what is it simply is. And so then we can accept the maybe the downsides along with the upsides as being well, that is. That's how it is. And it's neither good nor bad, it simply is. And that's quite an evolving step, I think, for human beings to take, where we don't have labels on this is good and that's bad. We can say, okay, well, this is how it is today, right now, and may not be in the future, but it definitely is now. So what can I do with it?
Yeah. So that's the interesting question there, Mark, because if we're not using polarized labels of good or bad, how does Quadrant 4 work out whether it should evolve or change or develop something? What metric is it using to understand, should I tweak this thing?
I think it's action. So it's driven to tweak everything,
Mm.
and so no matter if it's fast, it wants to make it faster, or if it's slow, it wants to make it slower. I mean, it's driven to not accept what the
The step.
delivery partner is delivered. It's just I have to
That is
we
right.
can we can make it better.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I'm curious how that also lays over this desire we see in humanity. And just over your left shoulder, there's a book called Outlive, which I assume is about longevity. This desire to make the quantity of our life longer, and often at the cost of the quality. We've seen all of these gene readings and, implants and biotechnology focus a lot on longevity, quantity of life. And what would Quadrant 4 want to do there?
Well, Quadrant 4 obviously loves to play games.
Mm.
It loves experience. It's an experiential part, right? So it's like if there's this thing called life, let's make it better. Let's make it longer. Let's make it more robust. Let's make it stronger and so forth. So yeah, it does think from that position. Then if we go into the more contemplative areas of that, it's like some of the most meaningful moments of my life have been with maybe little kids, and particularly little kids dying. Um, and the lessons that have, for me, that have come from those situations. So it's what we leave behind, I think, in that context, that is part of our meaning.
Mm.
And how do we express that for future generations, and how do we leave that for posterity, such as our predecessors within the chiropractic circles have done.
Yeah.
Uh, so, you
And
know,
from that point of view of our journey, can what we leave behind, our contribution, our legacy, whatever you want to call it, can we design that deliberately, explicitly, consciously? Can we bring our efforts to make sure we're leaving something deliberately behind? Or is it just a natural repercussion of flowing through from that 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, as we've discussed in the previous podcasts?
yeah, well, I think the forebrain, which is the newly developing brain, is that connection with the field that we're in,
Mm.
right? So it's constantly reading into another field. In fact, I would say the mind is in the field; it's not in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, the thing called mental health, it's a very ill-advised concept, in my opinion. If it is contained within the brain, which it generally is in psychiatry and psychology. So if we look at it, that we are part of a field, and that we're feeding into the field and interpreting to it, or broadcasting to it, interpreting from it.
Mm.
And so situations like happened to me last Saturday night are very, very common, and I'm sure we've all had those. So how can we explore that more? How can we go out there more and um, you know benefit society because of it, or benefit the human race because of it? And I think if you look at the uh, historical stuff like Sheldrake's work, uh, the experiments with even kids like learning a video game,
Mm.
uh, I, the success of kids, like in successive days, get to the top level faster, and they're in different parts of the world. Crossword gets done faster in the afternoon. Wordle gets faster in the afternoon than it does in the mornings. So because of the collective number of people that are dwelling on that particular word or that particular algorithm. So I
Yeah.
think there's that's where our forebrain is part of that. It's a big broadcasting unit, and receiving unit. So if we could see that we're actually part of the whole,
Yeah.
um, and we're just one little expression of the whole, then
Yeah.
we trust it, and that's a big thing about the forebrain. It's trust, whereas the hindbrain's it's about scarcity and protection and safety and things like that. So I think we're willing to risk when we go into the forebrain. And so what happens with that, as soon as the quadrant 4 has an idea that we can make this bigger, faster, stronger, whatever it is, then the quadrant 1 gets excited because it's like, oh, here's a new idea, you
Yeah.
know. Like, so the quadrant 1 then looks out into the future and says, hey, where can we use this? Where can we how can we develop this into something bigger, bigger, better? And then that goes over to the quadrant 2, and round we go again.
Yep.
So yeah, but I think that that whole ascension process is it's stamped into the matrix of uh, humanity. No, galactically, universally. I don't think there's any limits to that. We just can't measure it. That's all.
In the
Um,
entire cosmos.
yeah, I mean,
It's interesting. So what I'm hearing is that, from chiropractic philosophy perspective, the more we allow our innate thoughts and flashes to be coming from the universe without interference, and stepping back from our ego, our educated minds, taking over the reins of control, the more we're sure to follow the urges and drives and thirsts of the universe in order to create something truly meaningful that is going to contribute for generations to come.
Yep, absolutely. And there's people who shake and move, and they tend to be that quadrant 1-4
Mm,
preference.
mm,
Uh, People that hold everything together, and that tends to be quadrant 2 and 3 preference.
mm,
And then if we can allow our preferences to piggyback on each other and feed into and out of each other,
mm.
we get the best of all worlds.
Yep.
And that becomes a very fast process of enlightening.
Yeah.
Because every time the impulse goes through the center of that innate model, there's photons being released of joy and inspiration.
Yeah.
Right? That's I think that's the objective here
Yep.
is speed it up, and the quadrant 4 part does it really well. It's because of its action.
Yep.
Now let's do it. Not so, oh well, we'll put it on a list and we'll do
Not stagnant.
use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Not stagnant at all. Yeah. And that constant flow with the minimal interference is really the name of the game, right? To
Yeah.
put those quadrants and to keep doing that. And that results in this blissful enlightenment, that's light being released. Which, from a philosophical perspective, and I know we spoke about this in previous podcasts, is the aesthetic of what is the result of all of this.
Exactly. It's a sum total.
Yeah.
Sum total. Yeah.
And just as we've mentioned before, that it's important for us to look at generations before us to see where we've come from and to understand where we are. Equally, we can look at generations ahead to see where we're going and the impact we're having on the future of humanity and the planet, and the cosmos, the universe as it continues to evolve.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah. And this is just such a little, quite short bleep in time. So we're very privileged to be here doing what we're doing right now, being who we are right now, and having what we have right now. And that's a real blessing, and that's for all of us. It's like this opportunity to shine brightly um, and work hard, and be willing to suffer.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I think that's a fantastic place to leave these 4 podcasts that we've done. We've touched on topics that bear exploration in much of the podcast. We've mentioned the horizontal layout of the innate model, but there's a vertical one. It's 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, maybe 11-dimensional even. And looking at that, also the impact of generations past to future, and where I'm sitting in this current river of life. And even some other interesting things like what happens when I devolve wherever I'm at. How do I heal? What does that look like? What is the power of my awareness around that? How do I integrate all of this spirituality with the mud and mess, the clay of being human, as well as being and our power of choice and authenticity? Just some little things that we've touched on, but we haven't explored. So I think there's a lot of room there, Mark.
Well, there's so many things, Nimrod. So yeah, no, there's probably a good place to let people ruminate on that, and to then maybe look at what next. I mean, what would people like to have discussed, and to maybe look at from different perspectives, and whether that's with us or someone else. I think it's food for thought, and maybe we can come back and do another little session around that. Some of those nuances. What ifs?
Yeah, nuances, or maybe even huge explorations, cosmic sized ones in themselves. I'll leave you with one question, Mark. So I've been referring to your bookshelf over the last couple of podcasts, because I think it's got everything in there with you in front of it. And so just over your right here is a book on Gandhi. And so the question, we're talking about legacy and contribution and flowing through these quadrants and, probably exemplifies that very well. So my question for you, Mark, is why are our contributions and our lives so much more interesting after we've been dead for a while?
That's probably the artist's dilemma, isn't it? I think, the artisan within all of us, is usually not recognized in their own lifetime. In fact, probably even the change maker, the politicians, the statesmen, people who really forge a path forward for humanity are often not, sometimes they're killed, sacrificed in some way, but they're usually not acknowledged until their tombstones amongst the other fallen people. So it's just a funny way we do things as humans. We give a lot of credit to a pop star, rock star, but maybe not to the same sort of person. Or to a person who's out there doing amazing things for humanity, just quietly. And so every chiropractor in my book,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah,
Keep doing what you're doing quietly, shake it up with a bit of noise every now and again, and fun along the way, making mistakes and seeing what to do about that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mark. That's brilliant as always. I look forward to future explorations.
Yep. Wonderful. Me too. Thanks, Nimrod. Thanks for all you do.